Welcome back to the RAPodcast. This week has been a busy, hectic week for everyone. I'm back with my two co-hosts, Bendy and Shoot. How are you guys?
Doing all right. Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, I'm doing all right as well. Like you said, it has been a little bit of a crazy week, but I'm glad to be back on here on the podcast with you guys.
With that being said, we have brought back Milu to help us to take a deep dive into the latest happening into the retro community. Welcome back, Milu. How are you?
Hey, fine. What's up, guys? Thanks for having me again today because of an unfortunate event, but I'm sure we'll revert this and get a positive outcome.
Of
Also, I hope we can bridge the gap between end users and players and the crazy nerds who do the hard work creating the tools we use to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for taking the time to join us again. Without further ado, let's just jump straight into the most pressing question on everyone's minds. So, what happened in Retro Arch was hacked. Should people be concerned about having Retro Arch installed on their device?
Oh, well, the server used by RetroArch project was attacked, and the attack meant to destroy part of the Libretro's infrastructure and deleted let's say, the history of code changes of several code repositories. We can maybe talk a bit about more details later, but for now, let's reassure our listeners no, you're not going to be hacked just because you have RetroArch in your device, and you're not going to have a virus or something on your computer just because you have RetroArch installed. No, no malicious code were added to RetroArch at all. The, the attack was aimed only to at deleting data and taking the tools used in their infrastructure out of operation, right? Especially a tool named BuildBot, but we can talk more about it later. But when it comes to your data, your devices, there's no need to worry, right?
Just a question about the data. Do you know like a lot of data? Like, do you know how much like the situation with the data like all gone or
Oh, they are recovering the code, the source code of the emulators, RetroArch, and this kind of stuff. They recovered from the programmers, from the contributors, local copy they have on their machine. And the BuildBot thing, they are still working on that.
cool, wonderful. Another question which I'm very curious to see, like, how does this situation like affect us?
Well, many the most visible effect for the end users is that they won't be able to install or update the cores. RetroArch users usually install the cores inside the program. They go to the core updater, and well, neither the cores nor any other thing that relies on the attacked server will be available.
So, regarding Libretro cores, are there any workarounds you could suggest for users? For example, if someone wanted to acquire Libretro cores so they could play their games, is there another way they could do it without going directly through RetroArch and using the core updater?
Oh yeah, at least for the desktop users, we at retroachievements project, we are suggesting them to go to the ludo.libretro.com, and well, there you will see three options: download for Windows, for Mac, and for Linux. And well, inside those downloaded packages, there is a folder named cores, and they can go to that folder and copy the files and paste them in the respective cores of the RetroArch install in Libretro if they are using our emulator.
Just a little bit quick question here. If you like a new comes to RA, because I'm pretty sure like many of some of new are like new like every single day. If they want to like install like something about RetroArch or something, is it like everything is under control or
Sorry, you mean?
I just want to mean like if like you're new players, like you never have recharge before, and you just got into RA and they want to install
Yeah,
like stuff like this.
you mean if it's your first installation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, currently at the moment we are recording this, there's I guess there's no, this isn't the best moment to do a fresh install of RetroArch because of this thing with the cores. So, but I hope they will be able to solve this in the over the weekend or really soon.
One thing I wanted to clarify, Malou, is there's a little bit of confusion with some of the terminology we use here. So there's libretro, there's retroarch, there's RA libretro. Can you
All right.
give a little bit of an overview of what exactly the distinctions between these terms are and what exactly each of these things means?
Oh, sure. Well, Libretro is the name of their organization, and it's responsible for maintaining a massive number of code repositories. And such repositories have several programmers contributing with code for RetroArch and a huge amount of different cores, which are the actual emulation code. Well, but Libretro is not only the name of the organization, it's also the name of a piece of software used by RetroArch and the cores. Libretro is what makes possible you to emulate all those consoles, different consoles on RetroArch. And it's a kind of software that programmers call as API, and it stands for Application Programming Interface. And well, this fancy name has the interface term on it because an API allows one piece of software to communicate with another piece of software, therefore creating an interface between them. And an API can also be considered like a contract. We can take what we are doing here right now as an analogy. My, my native language is Portuguese, and if I'm not mistaken, Draco's native language is French. Benny and Schutz ones are English, I guess.
Correct.
But well, we all agreed to use English to record this show, and by speaking English, the people who are able to understand English can listen to us, and it's like a contract, right? We all agreed to follow this contract, and well, the an API is like a contract too, where the programmers agree to write their code being able to, let's say, speak the same language. When an emulator programmer use the Libretro API, he's agreeing to follow that contract. But well, software interfacing only with another software is not really useful, right? Humans must make use of it somehow, and that's where RetroArch comes to play. RetroArch is a kind of software that programmers call as front end, and the front end is the software responsible to interact with users. So, trying to explain, let's think in this kind of flow of things. Actual emulation code speaks Libretro. RetroArch also speaks Libretro. Therefore, RetroArch and emulation code are able to communicate between them. And well, users know how to interact with RetroArch. Therefore, users are now able to play emulators via RetroArch. Got it? Yep.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. That
And
makes sense.
well, you asked also about Array Libretto, and I just want to make clear that such setup is really handy, not only for end users being able to play several emulators on RetroArch, but also for programmers because they can focus their work on the area of expertise, right? And the hardware hackers who know how to write the emulation code can focus on it, and the programmers who care about usability can focus on the user interface. And you ask about the array libretto. Well, array libretto stands for retroachievements Libretro, and it's another front end using that API. And well, we can say that it also speaks Libretro, and well, turns out that RA Libretro is coded with the tools needed to create achievements. And as I said, programmers can focus on their area of expertise, and the current RA Libretro maintainer, Jamiras, is also an achievement creator. So, as a knowledgeable programmer and also as an achievement creator, he's the perfect person to improve the tools used to create achievements. Well, and we are we are really lucky to have him with us. Well, I think I hope I was able to show to even for non-programmers the beauty of such architecture, of such modularity, where each programmer can choose the approach they want to take to solve each problem. And well, the combination of their work creates fantastic applications that we all love to use, right?
I think that definitely helped me understand a little better all the things that go on behind the scenes in these projects. It could be a little overwhelming as a user, but I feel like I'm starting to gain a better understanding of all
Yeah, a lot of
this.
names.
Yeah, for sure. One more thing I wanted to ask you about is about RetroArch specifically.
Mhm.
The user interface, the UI of RetroArch. I've seen a lot of criticism or complaints, or people just saying comments such as, I don't use RetroArch because the UI is too complicated. I don't want to put in the time to learn it. So I wanted to ask you, why is the RetroArch the user interface, the way that it is? Why does it have that learning curve?
Well, I think what caused the vast majority of complaints is the lack of an interface with that Microsoft Windows look and feel. Well, and well, the reason for this is, um, let's take a step back. Well, when programmers decide to create an application, they usually have to decide where their application will run, right? And if they decide, for example, to run it on Microsoft Windows, they can take advantage of some libraries that make the job easier, way easier. Libraries that can help them to create Windows pop-ups, buttons, menus, and all these kind of widgets. But well, there's a trade-off here. For example, the programmers can use a Microsoft Windows library to save coding time. They will have an easy way to create all those widgets. So they won't need to code everything from scratch. But well, by doing this, by choosing this, they can eliminate a big portion of potential users who don't use Windows. And well, turns out that one of the design goals of RetroArch is to support as many platforms as possible, or as many operating systems as possible. And actually, I think they're doing a pretty good job at that front. We can run RetroArch on a wide range of platforms such as Windows, Linux, macOS, Android, iOS, PlayStation Vita, PlayStation 2, 3, 4, PSP, Xbox One, GameCube, Nintendo Wii, 3DS family, Switch. Well, it would be tedious to list every platform. But well, in order to be able to run all those platforms, they need to not be dependent on so many external libraries. So that's why you don't see all those easy to use widgets you usually see on a typical Windows application. They need to run RetroArch, for example, in PS Vita, 3DS, Xbox One, and there are many differences between all those platforms. So they can't rely on specific libraries. So being more direct to answer your question, they do improve the user interface, but as they can't be dependent on specific libraries to add a simple thing, a lot of code needs to be actually written, and it takes time to make it work on all those platforms without breaking things. I can say this because I've already added some achievement related features to RetroArch before, and I can tell you it looks like surgery. You have to be extremely careful to add a simple option. For example, to toggle hardcore mode, you need to write dozens of lines of code on several files, and you have to be extremely careful to not break things for the platforms you are not even able to test. And well, in my example, you need to mind the platforms that don't support achievements to avoid messing them. Well, and well, I've been using RetroArch for more than 5 years now, and I can assure you they made some awesome improvements in their user interface, but well, it won't look like typical Windows application. Never, I guess. Well, but remember that thing I said about Ludo, that package to download the core, right? And that Ludo thing I mentioned as an alternative to download the cores. The Ludo is also a front end for the Libretro API, and they aim to be as simple as possible, and they are targeting desktop users only. Well, unfortunately, Ludo doesn't support achievements, but and to be honest, it makes sense, and they aim to be simple, and the retro achievements feature is not exactly simple. But well, I think I'm confusing people with more names. I hope I was able to answer your question about the RetroArch user interface.
Definitely. That definitely answered my question. I think it ultimately comes down to one of the biggest strengths of RetroArch is how it's supported on so many different platforms. And when you take that
Exactly.
into account, it really does make a lot of sense that the user interface is the way that it is, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using RetroArch for a while myself, and it is definitely a lot of different options and things that are available within it. But one of the strengths of it, I think, is that it is so versatile, like you mentioned, and that there are a lot of things you can do with it. And I think probably my favorite feature personally is just that usually when I plug in a controller, the mappings are already pretty logical and make sense, and I don't have
Yeah.
to do a bunch of setup there versus
Yeah. Another thing that came to my mind, and they need to be able to run it on devices where there's not even a mouse or a keyboard.
right.
Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. And yeah, I mean, versatility is a lot of the times a double-edged sword when it comes to the end user, like you said. So I do want to take things back a little bit to what we talked about earlier with just what is going on with Libretro for people that aren't as knowledgeable in the community or that are not as much in the know about the Libretro project and why it's so important for the retro gaming community. So can you, in a nutshell, Malou, tell us a little bit more about why is the Retro Project so important for the retro gaming community, and not only for Retro Achievements fans?
Oh yeah. F- First, let's talk a little bit for what I guess is our main audience, the retro achievement fans. For us, the retro achievements community, the Libretro project is extremely important for two reasons. The first one is that we can add support for new consoles by using their emulation code on our front end, the RA Libretro. And well, the second reasons is that retro achievement players can play in a multitude of platforms, as we've just said. Well, now talking to retro gamers in general, the Libretro project maintains emulation code for dozens of emulated platforms. The classics Atari NES, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, and so on, PlayStation, Mega Drive. Weird things like Nintendo Virtual Boy, not really famous systems like 3DO, Atari Jaguar, WonderSwan, and well, it will be tedious to be listing this. Well, another interesting aspect of the Libretro project, I mentioned different approaches being taken for the front end, right? Like RetroArch aiming to be able to run on several platforms, Array Libretro aiming to be used to create achievements in it's available for Windows only. Ludo aiming to be as simple as possible and available only for desktop users. And well, another thing that's really cool in this project is that emulation hackers can also choose how they will approach to the emulation thing. Some of them want to prioritize performance so they can run their emulators on even on low spec computers. And some other programmers may want to prioritize accuracy or fidelity to the original hardware. And these can sometimes require a powerful computer to run the emulator. So um, I think that that's one of the reasons that make confuse people the huge amount of options. But well, the project's cool because of these options and how the people can contribute the way they want. As I said, the programmers can approach to the problem the way they want. I think that's the main reason it's so important, right? They can the Libretro allows to connect different projects and by combining them to create awesome things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you clarifying for the audience a little bit more about why Libretro project is so integral, not just to obviously retro achievements, but to really just the emulation community as a whole,
Yeah.
right? So, another question that I wanted to ask you is the attacker or the attack aim to destroy the build bot. Can you explain to our listeners a little bit more that don't know what is the build bot and why is that such a crucial part of Libretro?
Oh, sure. Well, let me try to simplify what the BuildBot does. It's a tool that is constantly or getting the code from all repositories and building them for a wide range of target platforms. Well, we just mentioned a whole a big list of emulated platforms, emulated systems, consoles, and also we listed a lot of platforms where RetroArch is able to run. So the buildbot is getting the code and building this what programmers call compiling. We are the buildbot is compiling all these codes and generating the exact table binary for to execute the RetroArch and the cores on all those different platforms. And well, the if the buildbot is compromised, the most reasonable thing to do to avoid bringing problems for the end users is to turn it off. As I said, it's building things, and if it's compromised, uh, it can be some vandalized and well build things wrong, and the end users will be affected. So I think the most reasonable thing is to turn it off. And well, that's why it's taking time to recover the buildbot thing. They need to be extremely careful with the buildbot, right?
Right, because obviously they, rather than leave it the way it is, don't want it to be able to transmit things over internet, malicious code. So to turn it off
Exactly.
and just migrate it to new server that's clean and start fresh is obviously the best thing and probably best for all. So it's good that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Last question I had for you was, obviously this is a really difficult situation for Libretro, and a lot of people have a lot of strong feelings about it. So, if you could just tell our audience a little bit more about how can people revert the situation and make the Libretro project be even stronger than before, Malu?
All right. Well, as I said, the buildbot is a tool that is constantly getting the code from all those repositories and building them for a wide range of target platforms. I'm repeating this because the buildbot requires a good amount of effort, bandwidth, processing power, and storage. And as we can see, they 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 do need a robust infrastructure to keep everything up and running. And well, this unfortunate event that happened last weekend has shown that maybe they need a better backup policies. And so the way we can um, help them to revert this, I guess, as retro gamers that are not able to code, programmers can contribute with code, and just retro gamers listen to us, they can at least consider making a donation to the Libretro project, and it can be done on patreon.com/Libretro or via GitHub on github.com/sponsors/Libretro. And well, I also would like to ask you guys if you have some ideas. You are streamers, right? And I'm not really familiar with that scene, but I've heard that people make donations sometimes there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we're potentially looking at is trying to have a stream at some point to get some charity stream to be able to fundraise some money for them because they could certainly use it. We know that it would be put to really good use, and I just wanted to maybe Draco has some ideas as well. It looks like he looked like he had something to say. So
Yeah, me and Shoot was thinking about doing maybe something. Maybe we even with Benny, it's still on plan, but we maybe trying to get like a long stream, marathon stream, and trying to, if people want to contribute to that cause, just like donate and yeah. But still on planning. But we yeah looking for something into regard to that and to have a lot of people having fun and just raise some and help for that.
yeah, I think it would definitely be a really nice thing to do. Obviously, that's something we're still working on to set up potentially and get planned, and that will take some planning. So we're not sure when that will be kicked off, but that's something that we're hoping to do because now more than ever, they obviously could use some help, and we'd be happy to do that. So um, Malou, I think all three of us really appreciate you taking yet even more time out of your busy schedule to allow us to get some information out to the community as well as provide a lot of valuable insight on this unfortunate event because it really does mean a lot for you to be able to join us and get this information out and also to share your perspective on it since you do have a lot of valuable information. So, do you have any final thoughts for us as far as our discussion and just in general about the latest happenings of this last week?
Yeah, I think they will be solving this soon. I just would like to reassure the RA podcast listeners that just because you guys became staff members, it doesn't mean that all episodes will be this nerdish blabbering from now on. Let's get back into gaming.
Well, that was thank you, Miller, again. That was very informative, and I think you put a lot. I put a lot of the community mind at ease. Thank you for joining us again. All right, everyone, that's it for this week episode. If you like to contribute and help again out the project, make sure to donate, and we're gonna put the both of the link into down the description down below. And make sure to always hit the bell notification to never miss a new episode comes out, and subscribe to us and I see you guys into the next episode. Bye.
Bye bye.